Hi guys. All right. Today I wanted to go over Buildup. Okay. And welcome for those who are joining in. I know you're probably at work. And hi to those who are catching the replay. You can say hi, say where you're from. And I'm going to go over Buildup and just show you a process that I use that some of you might have seen already. Bula, Chandrika, how are you? And Buildup is a pretty common topic. But I always want to preface by saying, well, first of all, I'm Jessica, Microloc Mastery, and Naturally Beautiful Hair Care. I want to preface it by saying when we get over to the various type of locks, it's not a one-size-fits-all solution. We are in another subdivision of locks. So when I'm talking about microlocs with the interwoven lock method or interlocks, there is even a different process and different ways that it should be treated from traditional locks. And we'll go over that and how that impacts buildup, how it happens, what we can do. Hey, Tonki, let me show you guys. Bula Chandrika, Tonke. Hi, Swaziland. Cool. And I know, Chandrika, you're from Athens, Georgia. Latasha. Hi, love. My fellow natural hair lista. How are you, love? Long time no see. Yes. We've been in contact since the early days, vending with Naturally Beautiful Hair Care, hitting up the hair show throughout Brooklyn and New York. Awesome. So really, so what I want to talk about with Buildup is what it is. Really is a Buildup of product, and it creates these like hard, stiff locks or dull looking locks. Yes. And it happens for, anyone with hair. It happens to all hair types, but with locks in particular, when you get over to the interwoven lock side of lock life, I'm going to speak primarily towards that. Now, the difference is with traditional locks, there's product that is used to start and or maintain. There's a lot of product in the styling. And what I stress is minimal product, because the techniques that are used that I stress, that I highly suggest starting your small locks with, do not require product and do not need product to maintain. So product is something that should be beneficial and used mindfully. So that is going to be this conversation, although I'll try to apply it broad to all locks. Specific to the interwoven and interlock locks is going to be slightly different. Okay, so if you have seen a video I posted on some of the channels I have, was me removing buildup that had accumulated in my 7-year-old daughter's hair. I think she was a great example because although we don't use a lot of products, she doesn't care. Like, she's hard on her hair. She's just does whatever, rolls around, does whatever. So I thought it was a great opportunity for me to show how to remove buildup in her hair. Let me show you. Bear with me for a second. I want to show you her process. Application window, course. And I'm not going to share the audio. I'm going to have to restart it from the beginning. Yeah, this is it. Okay, so this is her hair. And before we washed, and I have to admit that I was not on top of her hair. As I wanted to retighten her hair and do her hair for like weeks. And we just got caught up. I'm a single mom. I'm juggling a lot of things, just like a lot of people are. And I just couldn't get to it. But when I took her hair down, I was like, oh my goodness. It was all type of just cake up. Her hair was hard. You can visually see the gray where the product was building up almost in every lock. Even when I styled it, no matter what I did, right at the base there, from where the new growth grew out to her lock, it was embedded residue. Now, we don't use a lot of products. So this is Buildup from her own hair, scalp, sweat, and environmental buildup. We use very minimal product. Yep. So her hair catches a lot. So I just wanted to go and show just how it looked. And it also smelled like, it smelled a lot. Just wanted to show you guys that for a second. I'm going to show you the process that I used to, I want to pause this share. Stop the screen for a second and just show you some of the things we did. Do I still make my products? I do make some products, but I am revamping, and that's something that I'll revisit. I'm keeping these things in mind about how our hair holds product in it, what we need it to do, and to eliminate buildup. Okay, so let me go and let me see if this shares it differently. I'm going to share it bigger. Here we go. So if some of you have watched the video, you've seen some of these things. These are some of the extended clips though. So that's the hair. And then what I did was we used apple cider vinegar, which I like the Bragg's, but any pure apple cider vinegar, raw. I like natural products, so I use that brand. And we mixed it with some clarifying wash and some other shampoo washes that we use. There also was a little bit of water in that bottle because I wanted to dilute down the wash. I wanted to make it more liquid. And we put about 2 to 3 capfuls in that. That's like how many ounces is that? I feel like that's an 8-ounce spray. So we put a few capfuls in it, and then we shook it together and sprayed it. As you can see here, I had sprayed it in those areas that had the buildup, but really all over her head. And the reason why I use a spray bottle is because I like to target the areas and make sure that we get right on there. So that was just me working it in a little bit and breaking it up at the root. And then after I got it all saturated on the root, and some of the ends. I didn't really work it all the way down. I focused really where the buildup was. I put a plastic cap on it, and we left that cap on for about 15 minutes. This is me fussing with her because I was like, please help me, because I have one hand. I didn't have my tripod. And she's like, what's the reason why you're doing this, Mom? But she was super excited. I don't know why. She was so excited to have this done in her hair. She loves getting her hair washed. She said those are her pajamas that we were going to put in the hamper. So we saturated it, and she played for a little while. We ran the bath or the shower. Well, we started to prep getting her hair washed. So we let that sit in for about 15 minutes. And then we rinsed it out. If I tell you what that tub looked like, there was so much dirt in that tub from her hair. And every time we wash her hair, so we decided to do that final part as a shower. So I think she took a bath and then we rinsed it out while we were showering so we could wash all the dirt away, because she had sat in it when we had done this before, and the tub was brown. And she was like, Mommy, this is gross. So I know that there are lock baths and things like that, you don't have to sit in the dirt. But we made sure we washed it out thoroughly. And after I go through this, I'm going to just tell you a little bit more about how to prevent this and some other ways to address it and the benefits of using apple cider vinegar. There's so many benefits to it. But that's just not one way to cleanse buildup. That's just one way that we used. So we really rinsed it out really well. And then if you have any comments, I'll see them when I close the screen. This is after. So she's dressed and her hair is slightly damp, and we're getting ready to go and do her retightening. She has a lot of new growth. But as you can see, that buildup, her hair looks a lot cleaner. It's not as hard. The it like her hair, her film that was in her hair left a ring around the tub. It was really a lot. So I was just showing those edges there. They tend to accumulate more around the edges and the perimeter of her hair.
Stop doing extra while I'm recording.
I don't know if you guys can hear, but I'm yelling at her. Because she was
Stop. Put your arm down.
okay. I hope y'all can't hear it.
I'm trying to.
All right. So I started to retighten it with her. I like to do it and roll it, like to kill two birds with one stone. I say it's my version of a press and curl. Like literally retighten and roll up each section. Her hair grew a lot, but the buildup is not embedded in the locks. I wanted to make sure that I did this treatment before I started the retightening, so that while her hair is loose, it's much easier to get the buildup out. There are times where me personally, I tend to retighten my hair, then wash it, and then set it. It can do either or, but when I'm specifically focusing on getting out buildup, I make sure that I'll retighten it after, because I want it to come out much easier before I start to weave those hair fibers together. Oh, here's a little video of her hang time. But how clean it is as well throughout the lot. And it's fresh. It doesn't smell like vinegar. Putting it in with the wash also and letting it sit, it has a double action of the detergents that are in the wash, the shampoo or wash you're using, that break down the oil, and the apple cider vinegar is like a boost to it. And there are products on the market that have it together, but they don't work like this works in the pure form, because I think there's less, it's actual apple cider vinegar in its whole form, as opposed to, like, I think Shea Moisture makes like an apple cider vinegar kind of wash, but I don't like to use a lot of washes that are designed for loose natural hair on our locks, because I feel sometimes it the effects of it is really still designed for loose strands and coating those strands, and so sometimes I feel like it loosens up our hair, softens it a bit too much, and I want to keep our hair really locked nicely. So that is the roller set that I did on it. But you can even see when I zoom in how clear her scalp looks, how clean it looks, and how shiny the hair is looking. The apple cider vinegar really like boosted the shine. Obviously, getting the dirt out of her hair boosted the shine. She wanted to pose for you guys in this little picture here. And then we took them out the next morning. There was no dryer time. We didn't sit under the dryer, because when I roller set it as I retighten, it gradually dries naturally. And so I keep each section sectioned up, and then when I retighten it and roll it, those sections dry gradually. So by the time it's all set, it already has dried a lot. And the next morning, it's full. It has a lot of body, a lot of movement. It smells great. Her scalp is not only clean, but pH balanced because of the apple cider vinegar in there. We didn't even add any oil to her hair. I couldn't find my oil. We are moving to the upstairs apartment, and downstairs is where my office is, where I am now. So you see the boxes and things. I didn't have a lot of things up here. So I said, let me just do it with what I have. I didn't realize I was going to capture all that messy background. But you can see just that shine is just straight off the camera lens. So that shine in that body, that's why I really stress, minimal products, because the product will embed in those locks and make the hair hard and stiff or lumpy or clumpy. Stop. Okay, so what's she say? Kate Charmel on purpose. I don't know what that meant. So the three major reasons why the buildup happens. The first one is the excessive product. Okay, so the more product you use, the more potential for buildup, especially if you are not cleansing it very well with your cleansing routine. On this side of lock life, again, interwoven, which is recommended for microlocs. You are not using product, so you don't need to use it. It will embed. It embeds really well in here, whatever you're doing. So you shouldn't really have to cleanse it a lot. You'll find that just a little bit of your wash will do the job. And unless, here's the second point, if there's a lot of environmental debris, like if you have a lot of dirt or dust or pollen or sand or things like that that you're in contact with, then obviously that is going to help with the buildup. But just going right back to the product, excessive product is also like a magnet. It will draw and attach those things to your hair, and it just sits in there. It's like sticky. It'll stay in there. And I told you, I am very transparent in my beginning days of my locks. I was using like less jam and all these crazy things because I wanted laid edges. I was still very, very focused on getting those slick edges. I've made a lot more peace with my edges not having to be slicked down and just really focusing on healthy hair. But I was really doing that and putting things on my edges and wondering why down some of my locks it would be hard. It would be like hard spots, white. Even to this day, then you would attract, there would be like little white fibers from whatever I was wearing. Now, it doesn't always mean product does that, but product will accelerate that if you wear clothes, collars, hats, things like that. And then the last one is obviously insufficient washing, which is what we talked about with the product. So if it's not frequent enough or not thorough enough. Going for long stints of time, like I did with my daughter, I think she hadn't had her hair really. She had her hair washed, I think it was over a month, but I feel like the retightening and all that, it was a long time. It was longer than it should have been. And so even if you're not using products and you're like, yeah, I don't use a lot of products, you're still accumulating oil from your own body, sweat, dandruff, skin cells. And that's really what I think I was seeing on my daughter, was that natural. When our hair is dirty or you worked out a lot or whatever, and you might scratch your scalp and you feel that film and it's like kind of gross and it's sitting up under your nails. Like that's what it is. That's embedding into your locks if it's not washed out. So a tip I have for people who like work out a lot and let's say they're starting their locks and they're like, look, I don't want to wash my hair all the time. I don't want to disrupt it. Well, I say there's a difference between washing and rinsing. You can give your hair a rinse. And just allow that sweat and that oil, or, you're not going to break it up with a detergent like a soap, but you're able to rinse away some of the debris and some of the things that sit in your hair. So if that's something that I do that a lot in the summertime, especially, it depends on how active I was with water, but sometimes I'm just rinsing it. Or I might give it a light wash, but you don't have to go hard every time you're keeping your hair clean because you don't have a whole lot to wash out. So your routine basic washing that we should be doing should be sufficient enough to remove any normal accumulation of dirt, oil, and environmental residue. So just doing that on a regular basis. If you are on the other side of locks, but we're using a lot of product, you're definitely going to have to use a little bit more to get it out. So I'm really, since I primarily focus on the techniques that I have and that I promote and use, I know that there isn't the same level of product usage. And also, the less you wash, the more you'll just accumulate. And so, so I just want to make sure I reiterated that point. Let me say, I was trying to tag someone who was just asking this question. Oh, okay, on purpose. Yep. So this will stay up. They can catch the replay. But here's some ways to prevent it. I'm gonna sound like a broken record when I talk about products, but it is significant. Do y'all remember? I don't know who's watching. But I told you a story about a woman that had her locks started. This was years ago, and I don't know what happened with well, she came to me, I think before or very early on, maybe around her first retightening or second or third. It was early, and she didn't have proper instruction on what to do. And it's not her fault, but she came and her locks were like white, not because her hair was gray, but because it was product. And she was like, I don't know what to do. I wasn't instructed on what to do. Someone just put them in. And she said she just started to use setting lotions to do stuff. She started gel, like just stuff that she would do when her hair was loose. She's an extreme case, but her locks it was embedded in every fiber, down every strand of her locks. And it took us a lot to cleanse that out because it was getting pretty embedded in there. But that was just an example of an extreme case of what product does. It was hard, it was lumpy, and because her hair was in the process of locking, it made sections harder than what they would have been normally if it were locking naturally. Our hair has this softness to it as it goes around the pattern and it gets older and older. It mats together at a rate, increasingly until it's fully locked, and then it goes through other stages. But instead of it doing what it was supposed to do, those gaps were filled with product, and it was just hardening up. And so her hair, it was just a really confusing, and it didn't allow the process to happen. So it was hard in some areas, like really hard. So we had to wash and wash to get it soft enough to go in and do the repair work that we needed to do, because the hair wasn't even allowed to do what it wanted to do with the product there. So that was just an extreme case. But I know the withdrawal from product can be a tough one. It was for me even. I mean, I had so many products, and I thought that was like my rites of passage going natural and that was in 2000. Like not even 2010, it was 2006 and 7 and 8, before half these product lines were out. And it was just so many products, and I didn't want to let go of them, and I had a dependency on them a little bit, and I was like, well, so I didn't want to hear it either. So I know sometimes the messages I sent, I have to remember how I felt hearing it, and it was just like whatever. But once I started to get a little reality check about what was happening to my own hair in certain areas, I was like, oh no, I invested way too much money to be messing around when I already knew that I could get good results based on the skill of my loctician and everything like that. So I was like, don't play around with this. You don't have money to waste, and you want your hair to look good. So that also keeping my hair clean. So the frequency of the wash depends on the individual, but I feel like at least once a month. Some people, and it's tricky because we're not using so much product, and depending on our lifestyle, we can go for a long time without washing our hair, especially people of color. We don't need to wash our hair. We typically don't wash our hair very often because of how our oil is produced and things like that. But washing your hair, I say at least, some people can wash it weekly. We are all different. We secrete oils different. We have different things going on. But I think once your hair, if it feels dirty, if it has an odor, if you've been working out a lot, it's good to just keep it clean, even if it's a light wash. Some people fear dandruff. They fear like, well, I don't want to wash too much because then my hair will get too dry, and then you're saying don't use product. Well, the funny thing is that the less product you use, or the less chemically, when I say product, I'm talking about like what you can buy in a store. There's a whole different thing with natural. There's some natural products, and they're designed to nourish your hair, and they can rinse out easier. Those are a little bit different, but the point I was gonna make with the product. See, my brain just went, the less your hair gets to your scalp gets to this like equilibrium where those problems that you used to have when you used a lot of product, like flaky scalp, and some people say like the whole entire first layer of their scalp comes up, there's excessive dandruff, itchiness. A lot of it is because of the product. It's not because necessarily a reaction, allergic reaction. There's something that happens when we, if the product has something like petroleum in it, or something that kind of doesn't allow the scalp to breathe. I call it like a plastic, even though petroleum is a common one, not a natural mineral jelly petroleum, but a man-made one. It suffocates the scalp. And so your scalp is dependent upon this to balance out what's happening, to seal in, to feed it, whatever it needs to do with the moisture. When you let that go, it feels like it goes through a shock. I'm telling you this from experience with hundreds of women and myself. It's like the initial shock. So people are like, oh my goodness, they bug out. And then a large percent of it, like 90-something% of women, unless it's a medical reason, they say their scalp calms down and their dandruff is like, it minimizes, and sometimes it goes away. Like they can get their scalp clear. You're obviously going to have flakes, it's your natural process, but you're not having excessive dandruff anymore. You're not having excessive itching. It does this thing, and I called it moisture retention factor. I came up with the term. I don't even know, but I said you're allowing your scalp to do what it needs to do, and so not being scared of being dependent on these things. But that's just a sidebar to what gives buildup, because a lot of times we promote and accelerate it with product that we actually don't need, and that's actually counterproductive to what we're looking for. But also, in addition to keeping your, I gotta get ready to get off. I got a call coming up. All right, and keeping your hair clean, keeping your hair covered. So if you're in contact with excessive dirt and oil, other materials, obviously, you know, I painted this house, I made sure I covered my hair. But if I'm going out hiking or something where I might have a lot of dirt in, it's okay if you're gonna wash your hair, but just knowing, if you're just being mindful of how much is coming in contact with your hair, and then rinse it as needed, which is different from washing. And I wanted to real quick, I need a time check though, because I do have, okay, 5 more minutes. I wanted to tell you, so some ways to address is a good cleansing wash or clarifying shampoo. I used a clarifying wash in my demo that I just showed you. And then I mixed it with another wash. And my daughter, I was just, because I didn't have enough, where I just wanted to mix it, which is fine. And soaking locks can help, but not for new locks. Don't submerge your hair until your hair is locked. You don't even have to do that. Literally can keep your hair clean enough without going through all that. If you're breaking down the product with that spray that I was showing you and putting the cap on, you're breaking it down, you're allowing it to sit. Soaking also is a way that people can allow your hair fibers to be submerged, so that it helps break it up. But I just wanted to speak on some benefits of the apple cider vinegar, and I pulled this from naturalclub.com. So thank you for this info. But I already knew a lot of this, but they put it together so nicely. So apple cider vinegar balances hair and scalp's pH. When I talk about pH with my tea rinsing as well, there are many things in nature that balances our pH naturally. And so by lowering your pH, it flattens and closes the hair cuticle. Your hairs have cuticles that raise and flatten. And smoother hair has smoother cuticles. It's easier to detangle, things like that. Shinier, less frizzy, less prone to breakage. It's really about strength of the fiber of hair. When I talk about strength of the lock, similarly, we want our strands to be strong as well. And more moisturized, because now moisture is now sealed into the fiber. So we want our hair to be moisturized. We want our hair to be healthy. When I talk about coating the strands, and that's a whole different dialogue when I talk about what's going to accelerate your locking process. But regardless of that, you want your strands to be healthy. So it basically helps strengthen the fiber of your hair. It also prevents bacterial and fungal growth. And since the hair and scalp is healthy, one of my videos, I talked about hair breakage and hair loss. And a large reason for that is inflammation under the scalp, inflammation in the body. And a lot of what's happening in our body happens in our scalp. Our skin is a huge organ. So like inflammation can happen, people break out, stress diet, many impacts for inflammation, but apple cider vinegar is an anti-inflammatory, so it helps reduce that inflammation. And it also helps with dandruff and hair loss. So since the underlying cause of that can be bacteria. It has nutrients, vitamins B, C, and potassium, and that's beneficial for your hair. I'm not doing a promo for apple. I'm just explaining why I used apple cider vinegar. You don't have to use it at all. And you definitely don't want to use it every single wash or every single time. But it is helpful when you need to use it, using these natural things. It clarifies and exfoliates your scalp. Another super important thing I talk about is clarifying, product buildup in general. Taking dead skin cells off your scalp that end up turning into dandruff, that end up turning into buildup, embedding in your locks, etc. And allows the pores, it unblocks your pores in your scalp. So your hair can breathe, you can breathe, your scalp can breathe. Helps with volume. It says curl definition, but when we're talking about locks, we want our hair to curl around this pattern that we're created for it. And it doesn't weigh down your hair, like, some conditioners and things like that. So some people with loose hair might use it to help boost their curl without having to coat it with these conditioners or silicone-based conditioners. And it does stimulate hair growth and increases blood circulation, which is really key. That's the concept that I use for my hair growth formula. I use herbs that stimulate the scalp, which then just stimulates hair growth naturally. And no, there's no preservatives, there's no chemicals. So it's a natural, cost-effective way to get these things. Don't use it as a substitute for shampoo, but what we did was we put it in our shampoo. So that way we got the benefits of both and allowing it to sit. And some people do it as a rinse. And now, there's a discussion about it being too acidic or damaging to hair. And this is basically saying that, obviously, if you take the pure bottle of apple cider vinegar and just pour it in your head, it is going to be strong. But if you dilute it down, so I diluted water and the shampoo together in the spray bottle. And that actually is beneficial. You're not using it full strength. Okay, and the last, it doesn't smell like vinegar. It cleans out, it smells like nothing when you rinse it out. Obviously, when you're messing with it, it's vinegary. But when it's diluted and when it's rinsed out really well, it doesn't have a smell to it. Thank you, Montaigne. So thank you guys for tuning in today. All right. Hopefully that was helpful for you if you're dealing with any buildup or anything. Feel free to leave any comments, ask any questions. This is primarily broadcasting in the Facebook group, which is freemicroloctraining.com/join. And it's also on my Naturally Beautiful Hair Care page, which is Naturally Beautiful Hair Care on Facebook. All right, guys, have a wonderful day and have wonderful, beautiful, build-up free hair. Bye.